Hello everybody, it's me, GhostCritic, and I'm here with my monthly overview of the comics that I picked up in the previous month. This is my November edition. This was a huge stack of comics that I picked up over that time. I'm going to pick out my 5 favourite of the previous 4 weeks and let you know why they were my favourites. I've also got an honourable mention section which I'll sneak in there just before I get to my favourite comic of the previous month. This month it's not so much about those comics that didn't quite make it. I just want to talk about a subject regarding a number of comics that I picked up. To find out what I'm talking about, you're going to have to keep watching, so stay tuned. So, what were those 5 favourite comics? Let's get on with it. We are kicking off this month's 5 favourites with Autumn Lands issue number 7. It's a welcome return after its hiatus to this Commandy influence title. Kurt Busiek didn't have to tell me that this was one of the influences he drew upon Jack Kirby's fantastic DC title from the 1970s. It screamed out loud of Commandy in so many of the earlier issues that you just couldn't not see it if you were aware of the title. This issue focuses greatly on Dunstan and Leroyd's relationship and how they have gotten on since the big battle with the kind of wildebeest buffalo tribe. We do check in very early with the rest of the group as they are kind of tending to their wounds, and there's lots of accusations being thrown around, but it is, as I said, focused on our 2 kind of main characters of Dunstan and Leroyd, and through both of them we learn one, how the magic of this land works, and the hint that our champion might actually be able to do a little bit of magic himself. It's only a very small panel and you just have to make sure you don't miss it, but there is a moment where he does appear to be using some sort of magic, or is it just his future world science? Then at the end it kind of gets a bit weird because we have this huge futuristic kind of alien spacecraft flying overhead, but for some reason only Leroyd can see it. So I'm very excited now to see what Kurt Busiek has in store for this next story arc, and what this big spacecraft entails for all our characters. Yes, it made my top 5 once again, and rightly so. It is the Twilight Children, issue 2 of 4. This is just such a gem of a book. And I'm just kind of going to reiterate what I was chatting with to Larissa in the comment section on my pull list video about this book. Yes, we are all here for the great Darwin Cook art. That is just undisputed. But you mustn't overlook this kind of wonderfully melodramatic, mysterious story from Gilbert Hernandez that's going on here. And while I've heard people saying, and I do kind of admit to this as well, you know, you're not really quite sure what the hell is going on, and not a lot of it makes sense, but there's this kind of innocent charm to the book that just kind of draws you in, much like this mysterious woman that's beguiling all the kind of male characters and readers alike. I adore this book. In a way, I'm kind of glad it's only 4 issues. I wouldn't want this to be any longer. I just want it to be this moment. And again, as I said to Larissa, I think given its short run, 4 issues, Gilbert Hernandez will kind of explain things by the end of it. Everything will kind of wrap up. And hopefully an explanation will be given to all these events. However, I'm not really worried about it not doing that. And for me to then go from this title by the end of it and take what I want from it, what I think was going on, and I would just be just as excited to have that happen rather than to have firm, solid answers. Beautiful book. If you're not picking this up, you're not sure whether to give it a try, wait for the trade. It will look glorious in that, but you are missing out on it issue by issue and reading it as we are. Beautiful book. I'm going to throw Tokyo Ghost issue 3 into my top 5 favourite books. The last 2 issues have certainly been heavily tech-based. We've seen this near future which has everyone kind of hooked into all sorts of technology, whether it's kind of like social networking, it's TV, it's video feeds, it's news feeds that come straight into kind of like your eyes, kind of, so to speak. But with this issue, Remender and Sean Murphy take kind of a 180-degree turn, and we have our 2 main characters, Debbie and Led, infiltrating, or at least trying to, Tokyo, which is this kind of island which is free of technology. It's kind of embraced nature, and it's led by this kind of almost messianic character, this woman. And we follow specifically Led as he goes through a kind of detox of unplugging from technology, and then him kind of having to confront all those feelings from his past that he's been able to avoid, or at least been distracted by all that information, all that technology he was using. Murphy gets to kind of flex his artistic chops on this, and again creates these beautiful naturalistic kind of landscapes which really they're equally as beautiful and awe-inspiring as his kind of technology based environments, and coupled with Matt Hollingsworth's colours on this, it's a beautiful book. Monstrous issue number 1, and what a monster it was. Marjorie Liu, Sana Takeda take us on a kind of 66-page tour de force of steampunk fantasy mixed in with an almost anime twist, and I loved this. Yes, 66 pages, and these are, it's a heavy read. It takes a long time to read this, but it's worth it. It's deep and immersive, and you are drawn into this strange alien kind of world. We're introduced to Maker, who is this kind of young woman who's wrestling with inner monsters, and that is literally. This is a world where we have humans and not so humans at war with each other. Like I said, it's a heavy read, but it's rewarding, and it's not afraid to kind of throw us right in the deep end with kind of, there's heaps of action in here, but there's plenty of backstory involved as well. And for any of you out there that are wanting titles that are female driven, well, you don't get more female driven than this. Apart from the first few pages, there is barely a male character involved in this. It is a very female centric book, whether they're on the good side or the bad side. But wow, Marjorie Liu, just, I hope she hasn't kind of like thrown in all the best stuff out at once in this first issue, and this kind of quality of storytelling continues in the next issue and the next issue, and coupled with Takeda's gorgeous artwork in this, it is influenced by kind of manga and the kind of anime. I'm a huge fan of anime at the moment. I'm watching a lot of the series with anime in them. And it did feel at times like I was reading an anime TV show, and it just made my enjoyment of this book all the more. I can't wait for the next issue of this to come out. So before I get on to my favourite comic of November, let's talk about those honourable mentions this week. They were great comics. I won't say otherwise. But I wanted to talk about Marvel at the moment in general and their all new, all different line. We are still kind of waiting for Secret Wars to end, but Marvel have gone ahead, despite the late solicitations of Secret Wars, and gone ahead with their all new, all different Marvel universe. So over the last month I've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books to read, and they include the Secret Wars stuff as well. So we had, for me, the tie-ins from Secret Wars. I had the final Infinity Gauntlet, which I've enjoyed the series as a whole, but I had no idea what went on in the end and what kind of happened. Did feel it was kind of rushed. And you've obviously got the Secret Wars main title, which we've just had issue 7 out, waiting for the last 2 issues because it's now a 9-issue series. I do feel they've dragged this out now. This, while it's a great huge battle scene and I enjoyed the heck out of it, like I said, I just feel now that they're stretching it out. I don't think there was a need for this to have had an extra issue added on. And maybe we could have got to the end of Secret Wars before the whole all new, all different started. So what about those all new, all different titles that we've got? I started picking them up. I've said in previous videos I'm going to kind of delve back into Marvel again. When I first started buying American comics, I was a Marvel fanboy through and through. DC barely got a look in. And that kind of waned over the years until there was barely a Marvel title on my pull list. So this, I thought, great. They're all starting issue 1s. It's apparently this new universe. Let's play in this universe for a bit. See if I take to it. And I have to say, on the whole, from what's come out so far, I am. I've got this strange nostalgic feeling. The stories are much lighter. Yes, there are still those elements of danger in here which you need, and were always there in kind of Marvel titles of old, but they're much lighter. Over the last, say, 4 or 5 years, Marvel got very serious, very dark and very adult. It didn't feel like you could give this to a younger teenager and go, here's a Marvel book, you're going to enjoy it, you're going to have fun with it. It was all very serious, it was all very dark, and I think Marvel have realised this, maybe subconsciously, maybe it is a conscious decision that they've realised they kind of went a bit far and there was nowhere else to go. But there is a lightness, there's a kind of fun, entertaining element to it now. Doctor Strange, such a fun title. As I've always said, Bocello's artwork I love and always will. Doctor Strange, they're really using him in a fun, entertaining way and giving him some good backstory for people who don't know about the character, and giving him an unknown enemy right now to fight against. We had 2 issues of Extraordinary X-Men. This is the title I decided to pick up from the X-title franchise, and this kind of centres on a lot of the older characters. So you've got Storm in there, you've got Iceman, you've got Colossus, you've got Nightcrawler. So some of the classic X-Men characters, but they throw in kind of magic in there. We've got the young Jean Grey that's come from the past that the Beast brought into the future, and then they've thrown Old Man Logan in there. So it's a good mix in there. And again, Artist-wise, Humberto Ramos, love his artwork. He is really the kind of quintessential comic book artist, if that makes sense. And it just fits this book really well, and I'm enjoying where it's going, and kind of the reveal of the end of number 2, finding out where X-Haven, where all the mutants have gone to hide, is, and the kind of dangerous position that they are in. As for Avengers titles, I've gone for the Uncanny Avengers. Again, it's fun, it's light, there's still a big baddie to cause some danger and some, conflict. And of course, there's always conflict within the team. So I'm really warming to this as well. There was also, I don't know why this has come out so early, but there was an Uncanny Avengers annual. I didn't enjoy this as much. It was one of those, this is what happened in the past. It's kind of a lost story, but it does kind of, I don't know whether I picked up wrongly on this, but it did seem to kind of fit in with what's going on with Doctor Strange. I don't know whether I'm picking up the wrong vibes there, or I'm just not connecting things right, or making connections where there isn't any. However, the story as a whole was pretty, why bother? Do we really need an annual when we've only just got issue 2 out? I don't know. And then finally, for the time being, the Uncanny Inhumans. I've decided to go with this title. Time travel. Kang killing off members of the Inhumans in the past, so they're not there in our present. Brilliant. Love time travel stories. I don't care how stupid, how unrealistic they are. Time travel stories just do something for me, and I find them fun and, again, entertaining. And that's basically what comic books have to do. They just have to be fun and entertaining, at the foundational level. There's Image to go for, the more serious, the more adult storylines. I've always found Marvel Comics difficult to review because there isn't that element of subtext like you find out in various Image titles. The story is there. There might be a mystery, there might be a whodunit, which you find out along the way, but you have generally in a story arc a beginning, a middle and an end, while those over in Image have a chance to more meander, take kind of digressions, make you think about things more. Marvel, they just want you to have fun. So what could possibly have been my favourite book of November? Well, does Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips' names ring any bells? Yes, it was the Fade Out issue number 11, the penultimate issue of Brubaker and Phillips' latest crime noir tale. What a fantastic issue this was, and it felt very much like a payoff issue. All the threads of this kind of meandering Hollywood crime noir series are coming together, and we are kind of starting to get some answers to what all this has been about. Who could have killed this young movie starlet at the start? Just another stellar issue from the two crime noir specialists. We've got our two main characters, scriptwriters, Charlie and Gil, heading off to seek revenge and certainly answers from the co-founder of the picture company Victory Street that they work for, Al Camp. And Brubaker really kind of sets up this issue for its characters to fail. We have Charlie, who is kind of finally remembering things from that night, starting to kind of put the jigsaw puzzle together. But we also have Gil, who seemingly is in on this plan, but really has his own kind of brutal, revengeful agenda in mind. And it does go wrong, but not in the way you think it's going to. Although, you know, tragedy does happen in this issue, and while there are these threads coming together and you're coming to a conclusion, you're starting to get some answers, you are starting to be left with some questions as well. I mean, who is going to be left alive in the final issue to live on? Is the romantic liaison between Val and Charlie going to continue, or has she just been using him all this time? Sean Phillips again and again just captures the mood, the era perfectly. The art and the colours on this, just stunning. If you've not picked up the Fade Out, if you're a fan of crime noir in any way, go and pick up the trades. There are some out there already for this series. You will not be disappointed. This has been a true crime noir, unlike their last series, Fatale, which promised a lot of kind of occult twist to their crime noir genre. It didn't fulfill that as much as we wanted to, but here Hollywood has been at the forefront of this series and has been a star of its own, and that's all down to Sean Phillips. Just a brilliant series. Please go and pick it up. I can't wait for the last issue to have it all answered for me. So thank you very much for sticking with me until the very end. I hope you enjoyed my favourite books. Let me know down in the comment section below what your favourite books were. If you've done any videos lately and I've missed out on them, put a link to them in the comment section as well, and I'll go and check them out. If you are new here, then hit the subscribe button. There'll be more of these videos to come. Give this video a big thumbs up, and until the end of next month, where I'll be treating you to my December favourites, goodbye.